But first, it's every mother's worst nightmare. Kaytee Jones was told by doctors that her son Jaxon wouldn't make it to his first birthday.
But despite suffering from 2 genetic diseases and a heart condition, 2-year-old Jaxon has defied all the odds, and Kaytee has been able to take him home from hospital.
However, Kaytee now fears that the round-the-clock care that Jaxon depends on may be withdrawn, putting his life in danger. She joins us now to tell us more, and her local MP Vernon Coaker joins us via Facetime. Vernon, we'll speak to you in just a moment, because Kaytee, I wanted to start with you first of all, and it's really lovely to have you here. Thank you for coming here today. Actually coming here as a family today, you know, has its own problems in itself, so we do appreciate it. Jaxon was born in August 2017, and straight away you noticed things about him that were different, that he was having problems.
Yeah, so he originally had jaundice for the first couple of days, which was obviously quite common, actually. But by day 6, he hadn't been feeding properly. He was very lethargic. I was having to wake him for feeds, kind of thing. And I rushed him into A&E when he was 6 days old, and then we were pretty much there for almost the next year.
But you're a nurse, aren't you? So you
just registered.
knew that there were things to be alert for.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an element of mother's instinct, because when I took him into A&E, I mean, I did adult nursing, so I'm not familiar with children. I didn't have any children prior. Right. And I just sort of said, you know, something's not right. I don't know what. And I was really lucky that the doctors at the time really listened to that and did every test. And unfortunately, pretty much every test came back with something.
So what did they find? What has he got?
So within the short frame, so within, say, 6 weeks, we found a potential hole in his heart from a heart scan. He had kidney scans that showed bilateral kidney reflux, where the urine goes back up to the bladder and causes infections, cysts on his brain from an MRI. His urine tested positive for a virus called cytomegalovirus, which can cause disabilities as well. His bloods were all abnormal, his electrolytes weren't right, which helped the heart function. Yeah. And he still wasn't feeding properly. And we had weight dropping off him.
So many things for this tiny little body to be going through, and this is your new baby, and it's a lot for you to cope with as well. As he's growing, how does it affect him?
So I learn more every single day with him. It is literally just a wait and see kind of game. He is tube-fed, solely tube-fed. He doesn't take anything orally. I did try to breastfeed originally, and we just didn't know what he was getting. He was losing weight. We tried to top up with a tube in his nose, but he was still losing weight. I switched him onto bottle, and he would take very small amounts. And so eventually adding in vomiting, and he got bronchitis when he was about 3 months old. So he was on oxygen and a continuous pump feed through his nose. So we just never really managed to get him back to the bottle. So that's the main impact, really, I think, because he has... we've also got gastric problems as well. His tummy doesn't empty properly, so he can vomit a meal 6 hours later, or in the middle of the night after dinner. So it's quite intense, and I think his feeding tube gives us probably the most problems, because he can only tolerate small volumes.
Yeah.
So we have to utilise the whole 24 hours to get the amount of fluids that he needs in for his kidneys and the amount of calories he needs to get in to try and put some weight on.
But it's a range of very complex and incredibly rare issues, because he's also got the 1p36 deletion syndrome, he's got Bartter syndrome, 2 very rare genetic disorders. So this is a great deal of care. This is 24/7 that you're working here. So when, in July 2018, discharged, you were giving continuing health care, and that entitled you to 60 hours of care a week.
Yeah.
And you, as we said, you're a nurse as well, so you're a mum, you're a nurse. He requires 24/7 care. How essential for you is that 60 hours?
Well, I mean, if I give you a snapshot, his day, if I start in the morning at sort of 6 a.m, I'm feeding him from a mix of water for his hydration, because his kidneys release a lot of fluids. And I think this is where nursing comes into it. I understand a lot behind it, but I'm not familiar or experienced with it, except for Jaxon. But that will take 2.5 hours. So we'll finish, probably longer actually, finish about 9:30 in the morning, and then we start his lunch again at 11. So we've got from 9:30 till 11 o'clock. And in that time, we really try to utilise, like, doing physio or playing with him even, to try and stimulate him. And then that'll go on till 1:30 his lunch, from 11 till 1:30. and then at 4 o'clock again we're starting. So if we've got appointments in the day, his feed times take 2.5 hours each roughly.
And this is also not just daytime hours. I mean, this is all through the night as well. Because the big thing about him, again, because of this being sick and vomiting, you have to watch him all the time in case he chokes.
So currently we get 4 nights a week, and they're the only 4 nights a week I sleep. I don't sleep the other nights because he's just constantly at risk. So overnight, additional to his daytime feeding, where it's 2.5 hours per meal, he's fed from 8 p.m. till 9 p.m. water, then 9 p.m. till 1 a.m. milk, then 1 a.m. till 2 a.m. water, and 2 a.m. till 6 a.m. milk.
So anyone listening to this, just goes, oh my gosh, like the life that you were living with him, although I'm sure you wouldn't change it anyway because you love him and this is the way he is tough and difficult and demanding.
Most definitely.
So only made possible by the fact you have the help, you have these hours that are put aside for you, you get to have 3 nights sleep a week. But this is being threatened with being withdrawn.
Yes.
You are being told that he is kind of not ill enough to require all that care.
Basically, yeah. He's no longer eligible. He doesn't tick the boxes that need ticking, which is really puts quite a strain on me because I can't provide that on my own. And it's really difficult as a mother to say, I cannot care for him on my own. I can't meet those needs because you're a mother or a father and that's your role.
Yeah.
Well, bearing in mind that a care worker burst into tears because they couldn't cope.
Yeah, they couldn't cope with his vomiting. When he vomits as well, there's so many different elements to him. It is so extreme. He vomited last night at the hotel and his whole body... He can't stand. He stood with how panicking he was. His whole body went stiff. And it's really quite traumatic for me and for him. And I guess in a way I've come quite immune to it because that's... Essentially, we've been the best we've been with a few vomits a day, but it doesn't.
Well,
take
he
away
was
from that.
reassessed in July this year. Then this care, as we were saying, could be withdrawn. Breathing issues not serious enough. The constant incontinence not serious enough. You've appealed the decision. You feel like you're in limbo at the moment. So what would life be like for both of you if you didn't have that care?
Oh, I was terrified. When I first got told he was ineligible, which was, I think it was August, September, when they first did the review, the annual review, I burst into tears. I told her I'm going to have to appeal. I don't have a choice because to me, taking that away is putting us both at risk. For me, I'm going to try as a mother to do that, the impossible. I can't be awake 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm going to crash at some point. And that's not for a lack of trying. And equally for him, that puts his care on one person. He's got 12 medication times in a day. He's vomiting through the night. He's got at risk of choking on his vomit. He's at risk of getting double-dosed.
You've got to hold your job down. You've got to go to work. You've got to make sure that the patients that you're looking after are safe.
I can't work.
Yeah.
I've not been able to work since he's been born because his care is too demanding. I can't commit to an employer. Yeah. Which is obviously a devastating...
Well, let's talk to your local MP, Vernon Coaker. And Vernon, you've been taking a very close interest in this case. What do you think about Kaytee's situation here?
Well, first of all, I think Kaytee is an astonishing mother with what love for Jaxon, and that's the first thing to say. But the system should be helping. I mean, I think people listening to Kaytee there and your conversation with her, people would just be astonished. They'll be staggered that there's any doubt at all that that Jaxon won't receive that continuing healthcare. It's just ridiculous. And you know, as I say, I've been trying to help Kaytee. We're still not sure what's going to happen, but certainly it's something that, you know, I'm working hard with her. But just shouldn't be any doubt about it. It should just be.
The trouble is, Vernon, is that you look at the stats. 800,000 disabled children in the UK, 99% of whom are cared for at home. The number of children with complex needs or life-limiting conditions risen by more than 50% since 2004 to 73,000. Where's the money going to come from? Unless there is a major rethink here, how can our already unbelievable but overstretched National Health Service or care community, how can they possibly cope?
Well, my answer to that, quite simply, is that we have to be able to afford it. We shouldn't be in a situation where children, young children, babies like Jaxon, there should be any doubt that as a country, as the 5th richest country in the world, that we can't afford it. We have to find the resources to do that. We have to find a way of paying for that. You heard the love that Kaytee has got. Everyone watching this will be moved by her story and the life that she's living. And everybody will simply say that as a country, we have to afford that. We have to be able to give a young baby, a young child, the care and support that they need. So my answer to that is simply, we have to find a way of affording that. And it doesn't matter who wins the election, we have to find a way of affording it. Anybody and any government will have to step forward and ensure that young children like Jaxon get the help and support that they need.
Vernon, thank you very much for joining us. NHS Trust for Nottingham North and East said we would not wish to comment on an individual application, but it's important to clarify that the appeals process offers patients, their families or carers an opportunity to present new information in support of their claim or to challenge any aspect of the decision-making process. This is what you're doing at the moment. You don't want to be appealing. You don't want to have to be going through the stress. You just want to care for your child.
Yeah, exactly. And this has been months of hanging over my head, and it's literally had me at breaking point just for the fact that I'm trying to provide this care for him and I'm under threat and I'm having to fight that. And I'm not the only person. And like Vernon said, and like you guys said with the statistics, there are other people that are suffering and other people that wouldn't shout about it. I'm lucky enough to have a platform that have supported me and encouraged me to do these things and to fight. But there's people that don't have that and they literally just shut the curtains and hope for the best, and they'll end up in a hospital, their children will end up in a hospital. And in regards to money, that's going to cost more, the consequences will cost more. There's women contacting me that have attempted to take their life, that's children have gone into care, that have got child protection at the door because they've cried and asked for help, and because it's not there, they're frowned upon and made to be believed to be a bad person. And it's going to cost a lot more in the long run for mental health, hospital visits and their physical health.
Well, you've got a GoFundMe page. I think so far you've raised about £18,000, haven't you? And that in itself is hard work. Who's helped?
Susie, Rosie Ramsey, to be honest, everybody that's donated has helped. It's blown me away. And for me, that tells me that people do want the money to be going to these, because they're children, they're vulnerable children. They're a vulnerable group in society. They can't fight for themselves. And
well, I mean, the thing is, the absolute lowest possible end of being a parent spectrum is your child. Oh, how's your child? Oh, it's a nightmare. They're not sleeping. I haven't had to sleep for 3 days. It's been a nightmare. And then at the other end of the spectrum, any parent who's ever gone, oh, will you please go to sleep, then looks at your situation and think, I don't know how you're coping. I don't know how you do it. I mean, you are remarkable anyway, and you're also remarkable to take the fight. Amy says, I've been following Kaytee and Jaxon's story on Instagram for a while now. You're an incredible mother. It's heartbreaking to see that you're not getting the support you desperately need and that you're entitled to. How can we put the cost of quality of a child's life, says Sophie. Things are very wrong in this country. No one, says Chloe, should be made to fight for their child's basic needs and rights. What does your T-shirt mean?
Advocate like a SEN mum, a special educational needs mum, because we're constantly fighting and advocating for them.
Well, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
And lots of love to Jaxon as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Send him our love.
Giving us a voice.
Thank you.